Hello and welcome to the Two Man Booth, your weekly scheduled podcast on the crazy world of professional wrestling. With me, Jonathan.
And me, Adam. And we will start this week as we always do with the news. And I think the first thing we need to talk about is the fact that a person who's going to be very important in this podcast, in Jon Moxley, has announced that he will be making his New Japan debut.
Yeah, this is massive, massive news for New Japan Pro Wrestling. He put a video up on his Twitter, a very mysterious video with a bar and a knife, and it's kind of the most I can go into it, really. It was very, very Jon Moxley, very mysterious, and it was then announced that Jon Moxley will be appearing at New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it appears to be on the final night of Best of the Super Juniors. So that should be very interesting. Is it at Sumo Hall?
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be absolutely fantastic, and we'll look forward to seeing that. Obviously, Moxley will have to be put into some kind of group because that's the way that they book. If he's going to be a regular sort of full-time, I'll be interested to see where he goes, because it would seem Bullet Club wouldn't fit him yet, because Jay White is very much establishing himself within Bullet Club, so I don't think he can take any more competition yet, but we shall see.
Moxley could just be a loose cannon. I know what you mean, because everybody gets put into a group over there, but he could just be a loose cannon that is all over the place.
There was lots of knives in the video as well, and I was like, we've already got one friendly neighbourhood knife pervert. We can't have another one. Like, Jay White already is the knife pervert.
New Japan have sought to clear that there is no working relationship with AEW, and that they'd actually
already
made the deal with Moxley.
It's a matter of time.
Prior to this. So.
It is a matter of time, though. Like, there's no way on God's green earth they never, ever, ever have Omega back.
Okay, Carl Anderson, calm down.
There's just no way.
Yeah. And the next bit of news we've got revolves around the fact that Maria Kanellis has tweeted that their contracts are up in 3 weeks.
That is interesting timing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it was tweeted pretty much just after AEW Double or Nothing. And that would very strongly suggest that maybe they're going there. I sincerely hope that they are not.
I'm with you on that one.
But it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
If they weren't there, they were on the undercard, I'd be okay with that. I just don't think... everyone that we've seen, everyone can go really well in the ring, and he can't.
I just don't think Mike Kanellis adds anything to their product.
I just don't think he fits with the theme that they're going with as well. I just don't... I think he should just stay put. I don't think he's going to get pushed anymore in AEW.
And the last bit of news we've got is the fact that we have got our Universal Championship match for WWE Saudi Arabia. Money.
Here comes the Saudi money.
Yeah.
Ching. Saudi money talks.
Yeah, it does. So we will see Universal Champion Seth Rollins defend his championship against Baron Corbin.
Right.
Yeah. Exciting times.
I have zero cares.
I am so devastated that this is a show we're not watching. So devastated that I'm missing this Corbin-Rollins match.
If I had a dime for every time I cared about that match, I'd have 0 dimes. And I can't believe I've just used a Denzel Amore catchphrase. But that sums up how little I care.
Yeah. And that's the news for this week. So with that, we will move on to our main event of the evening.
A good wrestling show!
It is.
It exists!
It's time for us to review AEW's debut show, Double or Nothing.
What a show.
So we opened the pre-show with the Casino Battle Royale. Excalibur and Alex Marvez were on commentary, as JR will join us for the main show. I'm not going to lie, I loved the over-budget Battle Royal at All In, but this was kind of a mess early.
It was. There was a lot of standing around as well. Like on the outside, a lot of the wrestlers were just sort of sat there.
Mm-hmm. There was still a couple of cool spots, though. When Glacier's suit entered, he paired off with MJF, who did great heel work throughout.
He was great.
MJF mocked Glacier, who actually looked pretty great as he swept the leg and put MJF...
Sweep the leg!
He put MJF in a body bag! Yeah.
Didn't do the crane kick, though.
He did not.
Danielson.
Yeah. So Michael Nakazawa done a couple of cool comedy spots, but was then eliminated to the chagrin of the majority of the crowd. Joey Janela lit up a cigarette, which was a mistake as Jimmy Havoc stapled it to his forehead.
Smoking is bad, children.
Yes. The Spades were the last suit to enter, but just before their entrances, Private Party hit an awesome top rope Hurricane Rana cutter combo on Pillman Jr. Ace Romero is a big boy, but that did not stop him hitting an insane Tope Suicida onto Dreamer, Luchasaurus, and Sonny Kiss on the outside. Dreamer then introduced some plunder, which got over pretty big.
Yeah, did. Got a big East W chant.
Did. And the Joker was Hangman Adam Page.
Did you notice, though, about Dreamer? And I made this point when we watched the show. Did you notice how when that ECW chant started growing and getting bigger and bigger, at no point did you hear the crowd being noticeably turned down because they were cheering for something else other than the promotion that you were watching?
So when Hangman Page came down, things really kind of got on track. He came down and ran wild, looking like a modern-day Steve Austin as he just struck everything that by God moved, King.
It was awesome.
He had a nice moment with Joey Janela, harking back to their bout at All In. He got the better of the exchange by laying out Janela with the rite of passage. Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy teamed up on Romero, but he had to pounce on Stunt that sent him flying about 800 feet in the air to the outside.
We're still waiting for him to land. When we get news, we will inform you.
It was a great spot.
Yeah.
Monty Brown, eat your heart out.
Yeah, Monty Brown, like, the pounds evolved.
Mm-hmm. Jungle Boy eliminated Romero. Dustin Thomas then hit a 619 on Janela, followed by a rope-assisted 450 splash, but MJF then attacked him to uber heat.
Scumbag.
Sean Spears then made the save, but Thomas eliminated him, only to then be eliminated by MJF. Dustin Cutler got a nice moment eliminating Billy Gunn, but was then eliminated by MJF. Luchasaurus then chokeslammed Janela from the ring through a table outside in an absolutely sick spot as Janela basically landed right on the back of his neck.
Yeah, it looked dodgy.
Yeah. Thankfully, by all accounts, he's okay.
Yeah, we've heard nothing.
It was a scary-looking spot.
Yep.
Orange Cassidy played up his gimmick by finally entering, even though he was part of an earlier wave of talent. I believe it was the Diamonds he was meant to come out with, so not only did he not come out with his suit, but he didn't come out with the next suit either. He just tipped up halfway through the match
as and when he wanted,
because he's Orange Cassidy. He lands the slow motion kicks and a super kick on Dreamer, and then did a kip up with his hands in his pockets, which is insane. But Dreamer then dumped him. Havoc stapled Dreamer in the head and then the groin before tossing him. Havoc eliminated Jungle Boy too, leaving he, Luchasaurus, Page and MJF as the final four. Everyone turned on MJF, but he rolled out the ring. Havoc hits an Acid Rainmaker on Luchasaurus and a Rolling Death Valley Driver on Page, but when he goes for an Acid Rainmaker on Page, Page tries to counter into the rite of passage. Havoc fights out onto the apron, but a boot from Luchasaurus eliminates him. Page then low bridges Luchasaurus to eliminate him, and they play his music, but MJF is still in. He sneaks up behind Page and thinks he's eliminated him, but Page hangs on, hits the buckshot lariat, and then eliminates MJF. Like I said, this was kind of a mess early on, but it got better once Page arrived. He and MJF were definitely the stars of the match, and all the important stuff was built around one, the other, or both, which was good stuff.
Yeah, totally agree. It was not as good, like you said. It was not as good as the one from All In. Yeah. It wasn't as good at all, but it did absolutely what it had to do. It got MJF on the show, first off, and I think he's going to be a massive, massive heel for them moving forward. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and it got Page the win that he needed, because it's obviously, I think Page was going to beat Pac, so he couldn't have that big win, so he had to have a win somewhere else, and I think that's the best way they could get him a win. So,
whether he was going to beat Pac or not, I think once he didn't have a match on the show, you had to put him in this and you had to win it.
Yeah, totally agree. And MJF, I see a lot in him. He's going to be a huge heel for them moving forward. He's brilliant on the mic and clearly talented in the ring as well.
Yeah, and he gets his character.
Absolutely.
So we threw to Alicia A in the back, and she tries to interview Kylie Ray, who is very excited, but she is interrupted by Peter Avalon and Leva Bates, who have a shush off in a pretty funny comedy segment. Yeah. We then got a video package for Cody versus Dustin, which was awesome. And then the last match of the pre-show was Sammy Guevara versus Kip Sabian. This was very move-heavy, but it was well executed and got better towards the end. Sammy went for a moonsault, but Sabian moved. Sammy landed on his feet and went for a standing version, but Sabian moved again, so Sammy hit a running shooting star, which got 2. They did the Tiger Mask Dynamite Kid suplex spot from the ring to the floor and landed on their feet. Then Sammy hit the suplex on the floor. Sammy draped Sabian across the barricade and hit a shooting star press from the apron. He rolled him back in and went for the 630, but Sabian got the knees up and then hit the Deathly Hallows, which is essentially Bianca Belair's KOD. for the win. A bit of an upset, I thought. I expected Guevara to go over,
So did I.
but it was fine.
Yeah, I thought
Nothing to
this
write
was,
home about, but fine.
it was good without being great, but this was very clearly there just to get the crowd going a little bit before the main show properly started. Don't burn them out, but give them a bit of a show of what they're going to be getting later on. Like, absolutely fine. More than decent match, and both of them worked the match really, really well. So no complaints at all.
We then got a Sadie Gibbs promo, and then we got a series of segments as JR made his way to commentary. Cody, Pharaoh, and Brandy arrived at the arena, and then we saw Kenny Omega being very happy. And then Matt Jackson bumped into Michael Nakazawa. He met with Nick, and they came across Mike backstage, who asked for their credentials, so Nick super kicked him.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Baby faces.
They arrived on stage and hyped the crowd. Matt said he was happy to see 20,000 people here, but Cody reminded him this place only holds 13,000. Matt said, "This is wrestling. You round up." So Cody claims it as a record. This was the first of many shots at WWE, which, while entertaining, is probably not something I would recommend going forward.
I don't think it's the thing they should do moving forward. And to be fair, the Bucks have said that like they're not going to be doing it a lot moving forward. I think it was just something for this one show. I hope so, because we always used to criticise TNA for it because it made them look Bush League, and I hope they don't. The odd one is funny. But the problem is, don't take digs at them when you're still not the biggest company in the world. When WWE was doing it, it was like, well, fair enough, poke fun at your competition that you're now beating. But either way, it tends to make you look small, and
it does.
It either makes you look small in the WCW way in terms of like, well, like you're beating them, like don't be so petty, don't be so pathetic, or it makes you look small in that, well, you are not the biggest, like they're better and bigger than you, so stop it.
I thought the stage was very good for this show.
I thought the production as a whole was
really
great.
liked the stage. I thought the production in terms of the camera quality, the lighting, etc., was all really good. Camera work sometimes was a bit hit and miss throughout the show.
But on the whole, it was like 95% of it was good.
Yeah, true. So we opened the show proper with SCU.
SCU!
They cut a usual SCU promo and the crowd ate it up.
Yeah, they hated Las Vegas.
They established that in AEW, wrestlers will have 10 seconds to get out of the ring during tag matches.
Loved that. Like, love that rule. Love that rule.
So SCU versus Strong Hearts opened us up. I was worried about how the OWE guys would sell, but they were great here.
They were fantastic.
Lindemann in particular was awesome.
Yeah.
SCU isolated him for a while, but he fought back, and Shima and T-Hawk came in and ran wild, allowing them to isolate Daniels. Daniels hit an STO and got the tag to Sky. He takes out Shima, but the Strong Hearts hit some triple teams, and Lindemann hits a beautiful German with a bridge on Sky for 2. They both get tags as Shima and Kaz come in. Kaz runs wild and goes for an O'Connor roll on T-Hawk, but he's not legal, so while still in that position, he hits a Northern Light suplex on Shima for 2. Daniels tags in and hits the assisted top rope single stomp, followed by the corner tope suicida. That always looks so cool. Shima hits the Schwein on Daniels, but then gets caught with a slingshot cutter from Sky. Daniels and T-Hawk both go for a lariat for a double down. Daniels then hits Angel's Wings on T-Hawk, but Lindemann gets the blind tag, and when Daniels goes for the cover, Lindemann picks him up for an awesome stalling German for 2. When Daniels kicks out, Shima hits the Meteora immediately, but Kaz breaks up Lindemann's cover at 2. Kaz hits the guillotine leg drop on Shima, and then a slingshot Hurricane Rana on T-Hawk on the floor. He then holds up Shima and T-Hawk so Scorpio can hit a Tope Con Hello on them. A scary-looking best melter ever is enough to pin Lindemann. Apart from the scary moment with Daniel slipping for the finish, which could have hurt either he, Lindemann, or both, this was great and exactly the type of match you should open the show with. Great stuff.
Totally agree. Really, really good starter. I always knew SCU would deliver. I had no idea what to expect from Strong Hearts, but I was very, very pleasantly impressed. And it felt, like I told you when we were watching the show, they felt like Crazy Max from Toyamon, not Crazy Max from Dragon Gate. It felt like a Toyamon match, in the way that it was structured, in the way that it was constantly fast-paced. It never really stopped. And that's a style of wrestling I've always liked, I've always enjoyed. I was very, very impressed. Shima was Shima. I knew what I was going to get with Shima, because when he sells, I know he's a good wrestler. But I'd never seen the other two guys before. I'd never really watched... Is it OWE?
OWE,
yeah. I was going to say, I didn't want to pronounce it wrong. I've never really seen it, but I was very impressed, and it reminded me very, very much of the old Toyamon and the old Crazy Max. Big fan. I'm looking forward to seeing them more moving forward. I really will. Like, I don't know if they'll ever introduce trios belts, but either way, like, they should involve them more and more moving forward.
Totally agree. Next up, we had the women's three-way dance. Ali joins the commentary team before the match starts, but Brandy comes out in full gear as Ali speculates that she is going to insert herself into the match, but Brandy says she knows this match could be great, but she wants it to be awesome. And with that, Awesome Kong comes out to a huge reaction.
Huge pop.
Kong dominated early, but was sent to the outside. Britt Baker went for a crossbody onto Kong on the outside, but Kong caught her, only for Kylie Ray to wipe them both out with the suicide dive. Kong keeps trying to get back in, but keeps being sent back into the floor as the others work their spots. Nyla went for a powerbomb on Kylie, but Kylie hit a code red for 2. Nyla went to the top, but Kylie and Britt followed her up before Kong came in and formed the base of the Tower of Doom. Kong and Baker fought outside, but Britt hit a super kick, and then Nyla speared Kong into the steel steps. This left Kylie and Britt alone in the ring. Kylie hit a super kick to a sitting Baker and went for a German, but Britt fought back and hit a swinging neck breaker for 2. She went for a super kick of her own, but Kylie countered into a chaos theory for 2. Kylie fired up, but Britt caught her with the super kick and then a brainbuster on the knee for the win. Fun match, but one I almost feel might have been better as 2 singles matches, because I feel like the story they wanted to tell was Kylie versus Britt, but they also wanted to give the big moments, like the Awesome versus Nyla moments.
Yeah, it probably would, wouldn't it? Because they did very much have 2 stories they were telling. I assume it's for time constraints. There was nowhere that they could fit 2 singles matches into it. But I thought this was absolutely fine. It wasn't great, but I really enjoyed it. And it did what it had to do. It was a really cool moment getting Kong on as well. Everyone recognised her, everyone knew her. And there was still flashes of the old Kong there, wasn't there? It wasn't like she couldn't go.
She looked a bit rusty, and I think she looked a bit soft, is probably the word I'm going to use. Like, some of her back fists were very weak.
Yeah.
And I think I can tell she's not been maybe
in a
working
ring
regularly. So it was a bit of I think the sort of nostalgia of the moment carried her for a little while during this match.
Because she wasn't the old Kong, but she wasn't dreadful at all.
No, not at all. And I think with time and sort of more regular action in the ring, she'd be back to doing what she does best.
Yeah, and if they have Kong moving forward, like they haven't revealed, like, you know, we haven't had the Awesome Kong is all elite thing. We haven't had that, but if they can get her moving forward, that'll be really, really cool for them. Even just for like the first year or so, just to give them a very well recognised face in their women's division.
Because they've got a lot of good talent in there, but maybe not anybody with the star power that Kong has.
Yeah.
So
if they do get Emma, then they will. If they get to Tennille Dashwood, then they will have a face that people recognise. But we'll see moving forward. But either way, I really enjoyed this match, and I was very, very impressed by Britt Baker as well. I thought they were going to have her win. I thought they were going to push her, and I was correct. But I was very smug. But I was impressed by everybody else as well. I really was. Good match.
Everybody delivered. And next up we had Angelico and Jack Evans versus the Best Friends. This was another casual reminder of how good tag team wrestling can be. Evans and Angelico play heels and prevent the Best Friends from hugging early on. They isolate Trent for a while. He finally starts to fight back, but Jack Evans stops the tag. He tags in himself, but eats a lariat from Trent, who gets the hot tag to Chuck. He runs wild and does the deal. No one kicks out the Falcon Arrow. Of course, Evans does, much to Excalibur's surprise, mine and Jonathan's entertainment, and the friends we were watching with great confusion because they had no idea about the inside joke.
Yeah.
So Chuck hits a standing Shiranui on Angelico on the outside. Best Friends work some double teams before finally getting that hug they wanted at the start. They then hit the lawn dart cutter on Evans, but he kicks out at 2. They go for their finisher, but Angelico pulls Chuck off the top rope and then assists Evans in hitting a code red on Trent. Angelico then suplexes Evans into a 450 on Trent for 2. Evans hits a version of Order the Bulldogs to take out Chuck on the outside, which popped me huge. Angelico catches Trent with a sick knee strike and then a Razor's Edge buckle bomb. Evans follows with a 630, but Chuck breaks it up at 2. Trent cradles Evans for 2. Angelico went for a Pescada to the floor, but Chuck then came in as Best Friends hit a Doomsday knee on Evans. Chucky takes out Angelico with a Tope Con Hello, and they finish off Evans with the Spike Crunchy for the win. This was fun. A lot of fun.
This was really, really good. Like, you know, more proof why we like Jack Evans, but Angelico was fantastic as well. And Best Friends were brilliant in their babyface role. They're always good at. I really thought it was good that Best Friends won. And just absolutely fantastic. Keep this tag team work going moving forward, because the more that we see it, the more people will realise, maybe the more casual fans, that tag team wrestling is just as viable as singles wrestling, and it can be done very well, and it's an art form in itself. And I think that's what the Young Bucks very much want to prove as well, that tag team wrestling is an art form in itself, and when booked properly, when positioned well, when treated like it's important, it can draw money and it can sell tickets.
Absolutely, totally agree.
Rant over, but that's that. I think that's exactly what the Young Bucks think.
Speaking of which, post-match, the lights go out and the Super Smash Bros. Arrive.
Oh, I've got this.
They have minions who attack. The beatdown ends with Super Smash Bros. Hitting Fatality on Trent. It was awesome.
It's massive Age of the Fall
Vibes.
Flashbacks, yeah.
Also, the only time the crowd annoyed me all night when they chanted, "Who are you?" at the Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, that was the one thing that
Very upset about that.
Yeah, but they should know as well, right? Like, you can't think that people hadn't watched PWG from that crowd, right? Obviously, there must be newer PWG fans, but like, come on, like they were a huge part of PWG in the past.
Yeah, definitely, and they've got a heated rivalry with the Young Bucks, shall we say?
Yes, and it's very strange that they've come in as heels. Like, that surprises me.
It does, but it worked. They got heat.
Have you seen them be heels before?
I've seen them be heels before.
And how's it gone before?
Yeah, they're very good at being heels.
Right, okay.
The only reason they were really positioned as babyfaces in Reseda was because it was a peak Young Buck hatred.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine such a thing, it seems so
hating the Young
wild
Bucks.
now. Yeah.
What?
I know, bonkers. They then have confirmed All Out for Chicago on the 31st of August.
Chicago, Illinois.
So
if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen there, right?
It's gotta.
Either
that or the debut on TV.
Just in case you know what we're talking about, in case you've been under, if you're living under a rock for the last several years, there's a certain former wrestler from Chicago, who no longer wrestles.
Yeah.
CM Punk. And if he's ever going to come back to wrestling,
it'll be in AEW.
It's going to be in AEW, and it's either going to be at that show or in the first TV show, because I think they either use the Chicago show as one last final way of drawing people to their first TV show, or they have him at the end of the first TV show to pop people and keep them for the second one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think if we don't see Punk at either of those two shows, I consider him never coming back to pro wrestling, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of reasons why he would come back to AEW. There's a lot of people there he's got a lot of respect for, a lot of people that he has history with, and
you know what?
I don't see why not.
I like Punk as a performer, but he can be somewhat petty, shall we say?
Yeah,
so being able to stick it to Vince and Hunter,
he'd love that, right?
Yeah. So you've got to take that into consideration as well.
It's whether that's enough of a motivation for him, because I know that Punk in interviews has said that he's kind of fallen out of love with wrestling a little bit. Does not watch as much of it. He only watched AJ's segments. He still watched Raw, but only watched his wife's segments and things like that. So we'll see. Fingers crossed, right?
Next up, we had a 6-woman tag, Joshi style. This was really, really good.
Was great.
So going into the match, I only knew of
Aja Kong,
Hikaru Shida and Aja Kong. There were the only two.
Yeah, I only knew Aja Kong.
I knew of. But boy, did I know who everyone was by the time this match was finished.
It was great, wasn't it?
Aja clearly can't move as well as she used to, but boy, has she still got the charisma. Riho and Sakura tag in and work the Daniel Bryan test of strength special spot until Riho hits an awesome tilt-a-whirl sunset flip for 2. Sakura then catches her with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker though. The heels isolate Riho and Aja kicks her in the back, which Excalibur determines is unnecessary. He's become so restrained recently. Aja hits the pile driver, but the babyfaces make the save at 2. Riho gets the hot tag to Mizunami, who runs wild and hits Kobashi chops in the corner, and then a wheelbarrow German on Sakazaki. Riho gets back in, hits a tilt-a-whirl head scissors on Aja, followed by an 813. Yes, that's Tokyo's area code. I googled it. But Kong murders her with a backdrop driver for 2. She goes for the fall-away elbow drop, but misses, and Riho gets the hot tag to Shida. She tries for the brainbuster, but Aja fights out. The heels distract the ref, and Aja tries to use her metal box, but Shida blocks it with her kendo stick and hits Aja in the midsection instead. She goes for their jumping knee, but gets caught with the box, and then Aja brains her with the box. Sakura tags in and works over Shida. Shida fights back though and hits the deadlift superplex before holding Sakura in place for Mizunami to hit a top rope leg drop. It breaks down until Aja takes out Mizunami and Riho with a double suplex. Aja hits a brainbuster on Shida. The crooked moonsault gets 2, but for some reason the bell rings. Don't know why that happened. Total screw up. Sakura goes for a J driller and holds Shida in place for Aja to hit the spinning back fist, but Shida ducks and Aja takes out Sakura. Riho hits a crossbody on Kong and Shida hits Tamahashi. No 3 count. 4, ironically enough, the 3 count.
Really, really good, wasn't it?
Awesome.
Like I was the same as you. Going in, I only knew who Aja Kong was. I didn't know the rest of them at all. But by the end, I was very impressed by Riho. I thought she was very good in her role.
She was the one who stood out to me because obviously we knew who Aja was. I'd seen Shida work only in the States. I'd not seen her work in Japan, but I'd seen her work in the States. She'd worked for Shimmer and people like that. So I knew of her and had seen some of her stuff and knew she was good. But they were the only 2 I knew, so the other 4 were completely out there. And of them 4, Riho was the one who stood out massively, and she's only 21, so she's only going to get better.
What was the name of the one who was dressed like Freddie Mercury?
That was that
Matsu?
Was that Yuka Sakazaki?
Or
was it Emi Sakura? It was one of those 2. It was one of Aja's partners, but I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I can't remember which one, but I was really impressed as well with charisma that she showed. She clearly had a lot of showmanship in that way, taking after Freddie Mercury there. But I was really impressed with this. Ashida I hadn't seen very much of. I know you had. I hadn't. I thought she was really good too. And it was just like, Jericho did an interview after the show. And Jericho said they were talking about the show and how it was being received. And he was like, we put, there was six Joshi wrestlers out there. And he went, I've never heard of them. But you know what? Neither did the crowd. But did you hear how they reacted to them? And they did. The crowd bought into this match and loved it.
Well, I don't know how they couldn't because it was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I've only seen Shida really work in the States. I've seen one match of hers from Japan, which was against Aja Kong last year. And they went about 25 minutes. And as you can see, Aja's not as mobile as she used to be. No. They had an awesome, awesome match. So, she is clearly, she's probably one of the better workers in Japan on the female side of things right now. And that's high praise.
It's not in Stardom either.
Yeah, no. So next up, we had a sad moment as JR kind of got lost and was clearly annoyed at himself for it, and it was kind of sad because do you want to talk about the commentary team now?
Yeah, let's go through it now.
I thought Excalibur was phenomenal all night.
So did I.
I thought Alex Marvez had a really, really rough night.
He did, but he had promise. He just needed to talk louder. He had the Byron Saxon effect.
Yeah, he was quiet.
What he said wasn't that bad.
He didn't say anything stupid, but he just didn't add anything. He was kind of a neutral force. It was like, would it have been better with a 2-man booth?
But the problem is, I think if you're going to have JR now, I think you need a 3-man booth.
Yeah, you need to.
JR can't carry a 2-man booth doing play-by-play by himself anymore.
No, but Excalibur's a play-by-play guy by all accounts anyway, so he can jump in and they could sort of work a weird style where they're both kind of play-by-play and colour.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, because you do need somebody in there, because if JR's only going to be around for a year or two, you can't have a one-man
You've got to groom someone.
You've got to groom somebody for the role, and if they want to do that with Marvez, that's fine, but I did think he had a rough night. Well, I'm more than willing to give him a chance and see how he does going forward. I just thought he had a tough time of it.
Excalibur was great, though.
Oh, Excalibur was absolutely fantastic. He was the glue that held the commentary team together for quite a bit, because I thought JR started off slow.
JR was really picking up by the end.
But by the end, yeah. Like,
JR
I thought,
was JR again. Not JR.
We'll obviously get to the segment later, but after the main event, when Moxley came out, I thought JR's call of that was absolutely phenomenal. It added to the moment.
Yeah, by the end, JR was kind of like...
JR?
Yeah, like 90% of what you would have expected from JR, which is pretty good, considering that he had, a few hours of practice to get back into it. JR will get back to being JR. It's just going to take some time. He's clearly out of practice, and I felt awful at that point where he totally forgot what was coming next. And you could see it on his face. Mahrez saved him. He really did. And you could see on JR's face, he was just so angry at himself. Yeah. You could see, because he didn't speak for a good 30 seconds after that.
And he just looked disappointed as we cut to the Dustin Rhodes Cody video package, which was what was actually he was meant to be leading into. But you know what? Mistakes happen, and like I say, you could definitely feel through the show how much better JR and how much more comfortable he got and confident, exactly. So
totally agree.
I don't think this is going to be a bad commentary team. I'm just really glad that they plugged Excalibur in there for this show, because he really was the glue that held the commentary team together for a good 60% of the show, I would say.
The thing that I'll say is I think they'll be good. I'm just not sure they'll be great because I'm not sure about the mix. Like, I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see, but I'm not sure.
You know what, though? Like, we're talking about Marvez and how kind of reserved he was and quiet he was, but that might not be the worst thing in the world. Obviously, he needs to speak up and stuff like that, but that might not be the worst thing in the world because you feel like you've got two quite excitable commentators, because Excalibur's definitely an up there.
And JR's all emotion.
JR, especially when he gets into it, is all about the emotion. So you kind of feel like you need almost a Mike Tenay kind of person in there, like a professor, like a Nigel McGuinness, who's just calm and just calls the action, has all these little insights. If they can train Marvez to be that person, they'll probably turn into a pretty good three-man team.
Yeah, totally agree. It does have potential. We just need to wait and see. I'm not sure it'll be great, but I think it'll definitely be good.
So next up, we had the Battle of the Rhodes Brothers as we saw Cody take on Dustin. Cody does a Hunter-style entrance and destroys the throne with a sledgehammer. Crowd is wild before they even start.
Yeah.
They chant for Dusty. Cody does the Stardust pose. He hits a suicide dive, but Dustin takes control after botching and having to repeat a spot. The one bad part of this incredible match.
Yeah.
He hits an apron cannonball. Back in, and Brandy hits Dustin with a bottle of water, allowing Cody to take control. Cody works a nice heat segment, but Dustin fires up. He sets up for Shattered Dreams, but Cody pulls off the middle turnbuckle and sends Dustin into the exposed buckle. Dustin rolls to the outside, but eats a spear from Brandy. Hebner then ejects Brandy. She doesn't want to leave, so DDP comes out and carries her to the back. Dustin is bleeding like a stuck pig at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Cody wipes the blood on his chest. Cody hits the curb stomp for 2. Cody hits a double axe handle, but Dustin ducks the second and hits a snap slam for 2. Cody manages to get the figure 4 though, but Dustin fights through the pain and eventually manages to roll over and reverse the pressure. Cody takes off his weight belt, but Dustin hits the atomic drop, grabs the belt and pulls down Cody's tights and whips him with the belt. Cody charges, but Dustin kicks him and hits an awesome code red for a great near fall. The crowd was at fever pitch at this point. Dustin hits an ugly looking superplex and follows with the final cut for 2. He goes for the crossroads, but Cody hits a lower blow, the disaster kick and crossroads, but Dustin kicks out. Dustin hits a headbutt and a crossroads of his own for a nice near fall. They trade strikes and for some reason attempt a running Spanish fly, but they end up just kind of colliding, which actually probably worked out better than if they'd actually managed to hit the Spanish fly, because it just looked brutal. That gets 2 for Dustin. Cody then hits Din's Fire and a crossroads to finally finish it. Wow. Since Cody left WWE, I've praised his character work and ragged on his in-ring work. Not on this show.
No,
this was utterly phenomenal. The storytelling, the emotion, just unbelievable. I absolutely loved this.
Totally agree. Like, absolutely fantastic. It was all emotion and all story, but in a good way. Like, I sometimes feel like Cody matches go a little bit too much towards the story and there's not enough actual wrestling. This got the mix very, very, very well. Dustin was great as well.
Oh,
like, we talked about how much potential he had. He can still work, and
he's the natural.
He is, and it was just a genuinely emotional moment at the end. It felt awesome, and yeah, obviously Cody then picked up a mic afterwards.
He did. It's the post-match. Cody, whose hair is now pink because of Dustin's blood.
It was pink for hours after the show, you know.
Yeah,
like it was pink for ages.
So he picked up a mic. He doesn't want Dustin to retire just yet. He needs a favour and says that next month he has a tag match against the Bucks at Fight for the Fallen. He doesn't need a partner. He doesn't need a friend. He needs his brother. And they hug as the crowd goes mental. And onions were being chopped in my vicinity just as this happened. Very coincidental, but whoever that was chopping those onions, like, it was very annoying. I was trying to watch the show and like there was tears streaming down my face.
This inflammation in my tear gland, and I kept leaking from my eyes.
It's weird.
I know.
And it happened to both of us at the same time as well.
I know.
Bizarre.
Like, someone in that room was just trying to mess with us, and it was all like to make us look like we were crying.
Yeah,
we weren't.
No, not at all.
I wasn't crying.
No,
I don't cry.
Oh, man.
No, wrestling, because wrestling, you know, wrestling is for real men, and
just two guys crying about pro graps.
You're crying. I'm not crying.
Whatever. So next up, Jack Whitehall is in the ring and introduces Bret Hart, who is here to reveal the world title. Bret brings out Hangman Page. Before they go any further, MJF interrupts. He says he's the fastest rising star in wrestling and warns Bret that a fan is about to attack him, mocking him for the Hall of Fame incident. MJF asks Page what happens to horses when they get a bum leg. He says Page should give up his title shot. MJF starts to steal Bret's catchphrase but says it sucks. Jungle Boy and Jimmy Havoc then come out and help Page surround MJF. Havoc and Jungle Boy beat MJF through the crowd as Bret reveals the title, which is pretty, in my opinion, I think. Kind of a cross between the old ROH TV title and the UFC title. It's nice, it's different, but I like it.
Yeah, first off, I think it was really awesome that they got Bret there to do this. Bret was very shaky, though. There was a few points where he got...
I didn't think his promo was bad. He just looks like unfortunately, he just moves so slow and so broken down now. It's sad.
But in terms of the title belt, I love it. I didn't, when I first saw it, at first I was like, it looks a bit, like, odd. But then the more I've seen it, the more I really like it. It kind of seems to me, like you've said, kind of like the Ring of Honor, the old Ring of Honor World TV title. But then it kind of looks like that mixed with the a squashed, narrower version of the IWGP title.
Yeah, I can see that too, actually.
I really, really like it, and I think it's different, but it's pretty. And God knows we need more pretty belts in the world of wrestling, because for so long, all we've had is ugly ones. Like, WWE don't understand now that title belts have to look good, and AEW clearly do. And I'll be interested to see whether they go sort of down the New Japan route of having the titles be sort of similar designs, or maybe the Ring of Honor, because Ring of Honors are very different but have sort of a unifying
element
theme. Yeah, and I wonder if they go down that route, because obviously they're going to have some tag titles coming, and then we'll see what other belts they bring along moving forward. But you know what? I really like that title, and I think it looks like a world championship, which is really important now.
Yeah.
Because there's not many that do.
Yeah. So next up, we had the Lucha Brothers taking on the AAA Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks. Phoenix and Pentagon dominated this match early. Nick and Matt clearly not being on the same page and being a tad rusty was the story here. Nick gets a hot tag to Matt though, and the Young Bucks start to get back on the ball. The Bucks then isolate Pentagon, but Nick ends up accidentally hitting his own brother. They take back control, but another bit of miscommunication sees Pentagon send Nick into Matt. He manages to tag Phoenix in, who walks up the ropes holding on to Matt, hits a Kinder Surprise on Nick, and then springboards into a Hurricane Rana on Nick. Just insane. He then rolls into a rolling cutter on Matt. I just can't do that sequence justice. I've tried my best to sum it up, but it's just like Phoenix is the king of the ropes, and it was just unreal.
He is.
Unreal.
Yeah. There is no one better at using ropes in the world of wrestling.
Matt hits some rolling Northern Light suplexes and then locks the sharpshooter on Pentagon, on Phoenix, but Pentagon breaks it up. Nick gets the hot tag and runs wild. He and Matt get stereo sharpshooters on, but the Lucha Bros make the ropes. Matt holds Phoenix across the ropes and Nick hits the 450, but Pentagon breaks it up. Matt hits a buckle bomb on Phoenix, followed by a Doomsday Shiranui.
Yeah, look at you getting it.
For 2. Pentagon tries to fight back, but there are super kicks everywhere, followed by a double enziguri, and then Phoenix and Matt hit a lariat on each other as everyone is down. Matt and Pentagon end up on the apron, and Pentagon hits a running destroyer on the apron off Phoenix's back before Phoenix then hits a slingshot version on Nick in the ring for a fantastic near fall. Pentagon hits a fear factor on Nick and a gory bomb on Matt at the same time. Phoenix then hits a swanton on Nick, but that only gets 2. Pentagon goes for the arm breaker but eats a super kick. Matt then hits the Yakuza kick to Phoenix and follows up with the Brainbuster, as homage was paid to our fallen hero El Generico. They hit more bang for your buck on Pentagon, but it only gets 2. The Bucks then hit a double stomp package pile driver combo on Pentagon, and Nick dives onto Phoenix, but it still only gets 2. Phoenix cuts off the Melter driver attempt with something, but a production snafu means we only see Matt's reaction to it. Pentagon breaks Matt's arm with the sacrifice and then hits the Pentagon driver for 2. Phoenix tags in and hits 2 super kicks to Matt's broken arm. Phoenix runs at him, but Matt catches him and holds him up with one arm for the Melter driver for the win in an awesome tag match. Just incredible.
Exactly what pro wrestling should be in a tag team situation. We talked earlier about the Young Bucks want to show what tag team wrestling can be. And like, my God, this was it. It was brilliant. I love the story they told about the Bucks not being quite on the same page, but then coming together more and more as the match went on. And that sort of current flew through the match. It was absolutely brilliant, and I loved it. totally the right decision to have the Young Bucks retain. And I wonder, right, are the Bucks going to be the first tag champs? Because I kind of feel like they should be in terms of like getting the belts over, but then I'm not sure that's what they'll do.
Be interesting to see what they do. Yeah, could go a multitude of different ways.
Although I think Tony Khan has a lot more control in terms of like the actual wrestling than we thought. Supposedly Tony Khan was the actual one timing the event,
which was good because they worked this show very well. It was 4 hours they had booked on pay-per-view, and it ran for just over 3 hours and 47 minutes.
Yeah, they had 15 minutes left.
Yeah, had just shy of 15 minutes left, whereas if you remember it All In, the six-man tag main event had to be very rushed and had about 10 minutes cut out of it, and they still only went off the air with like 20 seconds remaining. So
there you go.
It definitely worked out better whoever had time in the show.
Yeah, so supposedly it was Tony Khan, supposedly.
So it's now time for our main event, which pitted Kenny Omega against Chris Jericho. Jericho's entrance was really cool as we saw past iterations of his career, featuring in my favourite bit, Jungle Boy, as Jericho on his WWF debut. That was a really cool sort of image when you saw him stood there like he was on his debut on Raw.
Lionheart, yeah.
Well, it was Lionheart, wasn't it? That was Jungle Boy, yeah. I was thinking it was his debut.
I thought it was Jungle Boy though from the hair.
It was Jungle Boy, yeah.
Oh, is it confirmed? Yeah.
Well, it's not confirmed, but come on, it was Jungle Boy.
It was Jungle Boy, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a really cool entrance nonetheless. They brawled heavy early on, which worked. Jericho sent Omega into the audience. Jericho controlled the action for a while until Omega hit a Hurricane Rana and sent Jericho to the outside. He went for Rise of the Terminator, but Jericho pulled out a table. Omega dropkicks the table into him and then hits a tope onto Jericho and the table. He places the table onto Jericho and then hits a springboard double stomp on it. Back in, and the Kataro Crusher gets 2. Omega hits a V-trigger and then takes Jericho up top and hits the back superplex for 2. Omega counters a lion salt with a V-trigger and goes for the one-winged angel, but Jericho counters and hits a release German before hitting a lion salt to the back of Omega's head, and then another more regular version for 2. Jericho sends Omega to the outside through the table from earlier and then hits a triangle dropkick. Jericho takes Omega up top, but Omega fights him off. He flies, but eats a codebreaker in midair for 2. Jericho hits some strikes, but Omega hits 2 successive dragon suplexes. He follows with a lifting knee strike, but Jericho counters another snapdragon attempt into the walls. But Omega fights straight out and hits the J Driller for 2. Omega goes for the V-trigger, but Jericho counters into the walls. He then transitions into the Lion Tamer, but Omega escapes. He hits a V-trigger and then goes for a one-winged angel. They try to transition into a DDT, but botch it. It leads to a weird thing where Omega gets spiked but ends up trying to pin Jericho. The commentators then cover it well, but when Jericho goes for another lion salt only to be caught in the one-winged angel position, they basically repeat the spot and hit the DDT.
They did.
I think they should have just left it and just continued on with it.
I agree too. I can see why they went for it, but like you hopefully not a lot of people noticed, but we did. Like we were like, oh, they've literally just repeated the exact same spot they were going for.
Jericho hits the code breaker and follows with the Judas effect for the win.
Surprised.
Yes. Well,
not shocked, but surprised.
We were talking about this when we did with predictions last week, and we were saying that we thought Omega would win, but for some reason I was like, the build made me think Jericho was winning.
Yeah.
But we both at the end were just like, nah, but Omega's got to go over. But this works, and I think Jericho versus Page is very interesting as the first championship match.
It's a braver move than we'd think, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would go like, but like having Jericho wins dead safe. I don't think it is actually, because it's risky in terms of Kenny Omega. It's risky in terms of right now you have got a megastar against Adam Page. How is Adam Page going to be reacted to?
I think he'll be over as a rover.
So do I.
Will absolutely live and die with Page in that match.
So do I. And the question now is, are they brave enough
to strap the rocket to Page?
Yeah, because
I think it's a brave decision either way, you know.
I'm not sure he's ready, then I'm not sure he's not ready either.
I think the safe option would have been to have Kenny Omega win this match and Adam Page come very close to beating Kenny Omega, but just come up that little bit short.
Yeah.
That would have been the safe option to me. Now I think you're making a brave decision either way, because you're either putting the title on somebody who's not necessarily going to be properly part-time, but certainly isn't going to be full-time in Jericho.
Jericho said he will only be there for things that are important.
Which is fine, but you risk a kind of resentment and backlash from the crowd that hates Brock Lesnar.
I think if Jericho wins the title, though, I think he's basically full-time till he loses it.
Possibly.
I think
I
don't think Jericho would do that.
I think that's still the idea of, even if he's full-time while he's champ, as soon as he drops the belt, he's going to go back to being part-time, and he'll have that sort of Brock Lesnar tag to him. So I think there is a risk on putting the title on him, and like you've just said, there is the risk of, do you pull the trigger and strap the rocket to Adam Page
he's not ready.
Early? I think he is ready. But I think you run into a potential situation of like the
crowd doesn't
what
respond
are
to
New
him
Japan going to do with Kazuchika Okada for the next 10 years situation.
Yeah.
He's very young, Adam Page.
Yep.
He's still very young. And if you
I
strap
love
the
his
rocket
gimmick.
to him now, where does he go from there?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. In fact, if I was them, I think I would book Page to go over, personally.
I would have booked Omega. But
No, I
I mean
in the match
in the
between
now
Page
scenario
and against Jericho.
I know,
in
that's what I'm
All
saying.
Out.
But I would have booked Jericho to go over Omega to go over everybody. Just because
So would I. I would have went.
thought
I
it was
would.
the safest
I
thing
went
to do
with
early
the
on.
safe option as well. But if I'm them looking at the show now, I would book Page to go over.
Same.
But it is still a risk.
It is definitely a
nonetheless.
risk. But obviously Omega is going to have something very much lined up because
Yeah. So post-match, Jericho cuts a promo on the fans and uses the word marks, which I hate hearing on TV.
I loved it. Didn't like that.
He says he is AEW. This company exists for him to prove his value. He demands a thank you, but the fans start to cheer. Why did they start to cheer? It was because Jon Moxley was making his way through the crowd. He gets into the ring and hits dirty deeds on Jericho. He does the same to the ref, and then he tries to do it to Omega, but Omega fights out. They brawl to the floor and into the crowd. They then fight towards the stage and climb on top of the giant poker chips, and Moxley hits dirty deeds on Omega. He picks him up and then hits the fireman's carry slam off the poker chips to the stage.
Just
Awesome.
brilliant. We had a very strong suspicion that he was going to be there, and he was. The crowd reacted just as they would have wanted.
Huge pop.
He was neither a heel nor a baby face. He just did things like Moxley should do. He's not. He doesn't care. He's just whatever. He'll fight anyone. And this felt major. This felt like the first shot. That's what it felt like to me.
Absolutely. So, what an awesome debut show for AEW.
Wrestling's good again.
Absolutely fantastic from top to bottom. It was so refreshing to watch a pay-per-view like this.
That wasn't like 15 hours long as well.
But also everything mattered.
Like I could have watched
Did
more.
anything on this feel like filler to you?
No. But like I could have watched more. Like that was a thing. It actually left me wanting more, rather than WWE, where I get at the end and I'm like, oh, for God's sake, will this just end?
Because the length of WWE pay-per-views is problematic. But the thing is, if you can book a good show,
Doesn't matter.
People will watch
Wrestle Kingdom
a long
takes
show.
Wrestle Kingdom takes ages.
Yeah, it's usually a 5.5 hour show.
But it's all mint, so I have no problem. But I do have a problem sitting and watching
Baron Corbin work a 20-minute match in the middle of a pay-per-view, and I'm just like, I've been watching this for 4 hours. Can you end it, please?
23 hours of WrestleMania, which is full of filler and boring as hell. In fact, that just sums up the whole of WWE because, guys, just wait until we get to our end of the week podcast and we talk about Monday Night Raw.
I've already watched it. It was
It's
not fun.
good.
No.
Not good. Anyway, enough about that. Don't spoil
So,
it.
final segment of the week then, double or nothing predictions. They did not go well for me.
Ha ha!
Jonathan won 6-1 on this show, so that takes him, given we said this was worth 2 points, this now gives him a 7-5 lead in our predictions contest.
Come on.
It was always going to be one of those where one of us won massively. I felt this one because we didn't know how they would book and who was going to be important to them and whatnot to a certain level. So we kind of were... It was one of the more difficult shows to predict, and you did very, very well. So congratulations.
I will take that magnanimously and say thank you very much, Adam.
Yes, shut up. So a 7-5 lead for Jonathan. I don't think we've got another pay-per-view until the next WWE one, although we may do takeover predictions actually.
Johnny 2 points.
Yeah, so we will see. Shut up. Anyway, so our final bit before we go this week is we've got a little review of Bret Hart versus Owen Hart from WrestleMania 10.
We do indeed.
We are doing this because, unfortunately, we've just passed the anniversary of Owen's death, which is very sad.
Owen.
But this is an awesome match. So it's Bret versus Owen in the opening match of WrestleMania 10. We started with some nice mat work early. Bret got an O'Connor roll for 2. By the way, Vince is beyond robotic on commentary. King is brilliant, but Vince is beyond robotic.
King's brilliant. King is at that point where
He's an over-the-top heel.
Like Bret could have shaken. Like Bret could have gone and saved a baby, and he'd have criticised him for it. Like he's at that point where he just, no matter what Bret did, he was a horrible person, selfish, and not as good as Owen. But oh dear me, Vince was dreadful. We actually got a what a maneuver.
We did get a what a maneuver.
What a maneuver, and it was just it was like it's like Vince had no idea what to say, and he couldn't call half the moves because he doesn't know their names.
Yeah. So what a maneuver was what he resorted to.
What a maneuver.
So Owen...
Wham! Actually, I'm pretty sure there was a wham at one point as well.
I can't remember what it was, but there was definitely something where we went, I can't
Roof!
believe he's just...
He actually went, woof!
Yeah, that was it.
Like, just, what is wrong?
Owen works a nice heat segment. Bret looks to fight back, but Owen hits a belly-to-belly to maintain control. Owen hits a beautiful bridging German for 2. A small package gets 2 for Bret. Owen then hits a tombstone piledriver but misses the diving headbutt. This allows Bret to run wild, and then both men try for the sharpshooter. Bret hits a slingshot plancher but tweaks his knee. Owen works some beautiful limb destruction. He locks on the figure 4 and Bret looks in trouble but manages to reverse the pressure. A leg drop gets 2 for Bret. Bret hits a sit-out pile driver for a near fall. He then hits a superplex for an even better one, and I loved how he hit the superplex and then both men were just absolutely dead, and all of a sudden you just saw some life from Bret as he just kind of put his arm in the air, and then all he did was rolled over onto his side and just collapsed on top of Owen, and he still got 2.9. It was just an awesome spot.
Good. So good.
Yeah. So Bret locks on a sleeper hold, but Owen kicks him low, Cody to Dustin style.
Yeah.
Owen locks on the sharpshooter. Bret eventually rolls through though and locks on one of his own, but Owen gets to the ropes.
Yep.
Bret goes for the victory roll, but Owen sits down and gets the 3. This was an excellent match, and it's one of my favourite Mania matches of all time, actually, this match. So I was glad we were able to review this because it's been quite a while since I've seen it, 2 or 3 years since I watched this match.
It's ages since I've watched it.
It holds up, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's ages since I've watched it, and it was never a match that I loved. Like I always liked it.
I love this match.
But looking back, like it's absolutely brilliant. It's very old school style of wrestling, but it's at that point where it's starting to get like where Bret was in that movement of it getting a little bit more new school. And it was just fantastic.
Well, we were watching it and you said something about, did you see Bret do the float over there? And it's just something that
would have been a huge thing now.
Every week on Raw
but
and
back
SmackDown.
then.
But back then, it just shows how the game's changed. But
it's like a moonsault. Like back then, like a moonsault would have been like the equivalent of like a 630 now.
Yeah, definitely. There was loads of stuff there that the crowd popped for because it was still important in those days and the little things mattered.
Exactly.
And it's that type of stuff that I kind of miss. And I know wrestling's got to evolve, and I'm not against it. And I'm the biggest fan of some of the more flippier dudes out there. I love Ricochet. I love guys like that.
But tell a story as well.
But it was just how the art of wrestling to me is getting the most out of the least possible.
Yeah, totally agree.
And they absolutely maximised everything in this match. Everything was important. Everything meant something. Everything built to the overall story.
And I love
Bret's
the finish.
selling of the leg was great. Owen's working over of the leg. Like, it wasn't just, we're in the middle of the match, so I need to get the heat and we're just going to slow things down for a little while. So
I'll just grab a hold.
Like everything, Owen was working things and he was switching to different things. It's like when you watch Sabre now and he's working over different things, but it's always to an end goal.
It means something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just I'm just going to grab a leg. And because I've been working over your leg, I'll just grab your leg here.
Yeah, but I thought this was phenomenal.
So did I. And the finish was absolutely brilliant as well. I forgot how much I liked that finish.
Yeah. We don't see victory rolls very much anymore, do you?
You don't see roll-up victories that aren't by like heels or screwy finishes anymore.
I just love a good victory roll, always have.
So do I.
So this is it for our show for this week. We will obviously be back on either Friday or Saturday, depending on when we can get together to record the pod for this week. As you've probably heard in our comments earlier, Raw was not fun. SmackDown has not aired yet, so we'll see what that is like.
But we're sure that's going to be great too, because WWE's TV and writing is unbelievable at the moment.
Look, we've got NXT to look forward to. Let's just be happy about that. So
genuinely, like if AEW becomes like really, really good, and it looks like it's going to, how on earth are we going to realistically like watch Raw and SmackDown and want to watch Raw and SmackDown every week? Anyway, anyone that's listening to us, if you'd prefer us to review AEW moving forward, please do tell us, because we'd like a good excuse.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with a solution and see what it is we can watch on a weekly basis.
Because I don't want to lose out on 205 Live.
No, and it's not even that. Like 205 Live doesn't. You can cover 205 Live in 5 minutes. Like Double or Nothing, not Double or Nothing, but AEW's TV show is going to
2 hours. So.
It's going to be 2 hours, but not just that. It's probably going to have a lot more moving parts to it. Whereas 205 Live is quite a simple show.
And it'll have more wrestling matches.
So we will have to make a decision on that going forward. But autumn is the time we're going to have to make that decision. So from now till then, we'll be continuing the same format that we always do.
We will.
And like I said, we'll be back on Friday or Saturday. Jonathan, anything you would like to add before we get out of here?
No, nothing.
Sorry, we're out of time. We will see you on Friday on the Two Man Brief.